Today, we're going to discuss the basketball results from this past weekend, maybe the worst day ever combined on the same day for the Rutgers basketball programs, men's and women's combined, in terms of individual results. We're going to kind of give an update on coaching search stuff, and I guess that's kind of it. But Before we get into any of that, this podcast is presented to you once again by FanDuel. FanDuel's got a couple of nice odds boosts right now on the app. If you wanted to get in on any Monday Night Football action, you can get a 25% profit boost on a 3-leg parlay. You could also get a 30% profit boost on any college football bet for the rest of the bowl season. So get in on that action. So let's talk about these basketball games. Alec, you had the unfortunate experience of witnessing the Rutgers-Iowa game in person on the women's beat, and Richie and I had the unfortunate viewing experience from our couches of watching this Michigan-Rutgers game on Saturday as well. Just two really downtrodden programs right now. Let's start with the men's side. It seemed like Steve Pikiell tried just about everything, every combination of guys he could throw out there. I think we were just talking about this. 3 of his starters played 15 minutes or less. He threw Bayfall out there for 11 minutes. He got 5 fouls in 11 minutes and fouled out of the game, obviously. The lone bright spot was Heron Zerno early in the game, and then he kind of even faded. But, I mean, this just feels like a totally aimless season for the Hoops team. One that I don't really see a way that they're not going to finish in the bottom 3, which is maybe even being a little gracious. Rich, what are you seeing out of this Rutgers men's team this season, I guess, and Saturday specifically?
Well, the good news is the bottom 3 now make the tournament, so can't miss it. That's going to be a tough one. But yeah, there's really nothing. Like Darren Buchanan was supposed to be your star transfer. Goes 0 of 1, plays 8 minutes. He was inserted in the starting lineup last game, gets it again in this game. They switch out Francis for Zerno. And that's not typical of Steve Pikiell because, like, if you can't play defense, you're probably not going to play. That's not the case this year because literally no one can do anything. Like, it's really bad. Like, even Zerno, like, he had those, like you said, a couple buckets early on, but couldn't do anything on the defensive side of the ball. Couldn't stop the paint. I think 16 of their first 17 points for Michigan were in the paint. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. And then they were just missing threes. Then all of a sudden Michigan starts hitting threes, and it's like, yeah, there you go. There's the 41-point loss. The big men rotation, I know Emmanuel Agboy had his career game a couple weeks ago. Other than that, the entire season has been lost at the big man spot. Bayfall can't play, and when he does play, he fouls out in 11 minutes. That's like almost incredible. Alec joked around about it on Twitter, and we joked around about it off the pod. The man had 2 points. He gave up 4 points by just accidentally putting the ball in the wrong hoop. Like, it's insane. He had more points for Michigan than he had for Rutgers. Bryce Dortch is a non-factor. He's too skinny. He's not a center. And I know they keep trying to put him at center because they don't have another center. Javonte Ware is just also not a center. He's too small. And then, like, Agboy just can't do anything. Like, they had 3 starters that had 0 points. It is just absolutely brutal. It was literally just throw shit at a wall and maybe something works. Caden Powers, you know what? Fuck it. Just start shooting. Like, shoot as much as you want. It doesn't matter anymore. It's game over. They put in no offense to the kid, they put in the short, fat walk-on for Michigan. Like, and he was in the game. Like, and he was playing, like, and actually guarding guys. And I think he actually scored at one point, if I'm correct. It's embarrassing. It's like when Tom Izzo's kid comes in the game and scores. That kid's not a D1 player, like, at all. Like, and he's just on the team because for morale support, basically. And then he's scoring in a 40-plus point win. It's like absolutely brutal. They can't hit a 3 for the life of them. Their free throw shooting continues to stink. They can't rebound. They can't defend. I thought this was the blue collar team that, like, was going to bring the Pikiell era back. Like, no, it's honestly, it's unraveling in front of our eyes. It's over. Like, you might as well just eat the 20 mil and say screw it, because this is absolutely the worst high major basketball team by far. And the worst part is it's the worst high major women's basketball team. So it's just as bad.
Yeah,
And
do
then
we
on
have like
top
the
of that,
metrics on that, like the Ken Palm
I'm
and
sure it's
Bartorvik of both
So
teams?
so the women aren't the worst high major, but they're worse
it's
than Big Ten.
Monday. I got to make a Ken Palm graphic. Let me go
Oh, great.
fix that real quick with the little
Yeah.
sad face of it going down.
And don't worry, I got to watch both games. I sat in the media room at Jersey Mike's Arena and watched the men's game before the women's game tipped off. So don't worry, I got to experience that one too. Yeah, I mean, just the stats were there's some stats that just kind of like go right at your face. Michigan had 25 field goals made at the basket, 1926 or 1926 on layups, 6 of 6 on dunks. Rutgers had 24 field goals for the entire game. And Michigan had 52 points in the paint compared to 26 for Rutgers. I mean, you just look through all the stats and it gets just more and more stark. Like you mentioned, Richie, like they can't get anything out of the big man position. I was honestly surprised that Byfall only played 11 minutes because it felt like he was out there for longer, which may have just been due to the fact that he had played like 11 minutes combined in the last month or so. So maybe it just felt like it. I mean, I guess, I guess a bright spot of Zerno and Caden Powers, I guess, but Powers took a lot of shots. He's at least finding his own shot. I mean, I think he could, pass a little bit more, but he's finding his own shot, so at least he's got that going for him. When three of your like you mentioned, when three of your starters don't score and two of them combined to take one shot, and that was Darren Buchanan in 8 minutes. I don't know what you're supposed to like. Once again, I asked Steve Pikel this after the Purdue game if they went 13 deep. Where are you guys on finding a rotation?
13
Obviously,
deep is crazy. Like,
obviously, they did that against Purdue too. Yeah, obviously they are not. Obviously, they're not any closer to finding a solidified rotation. It was pretty much. I don't think there's any kind of positive you can take away from this game. I mean, just looking at this, like Michigan had 26 assists compared to 24. Again, 24 Rutgers field goals, 26 assists. That is a well coached. Like they might be one of the favorites for the national title. They're running over everybody in their path, but
which is fair.
From the jump, this game was completely out of it. It wasn't competitive even from the start. So you have Seton Hall next, who is looking like a really good team and could make a tournament run. They got a lot of pieces that are working together. I mean, it's basically.
I want to do a way station stop on Seton Hall really quick. That's like what Steve Pikel has to sell to the administration. Like, get me some more money. I know what I'm doing. Look at what they did. They were able to turn it around in 1 year. Sorry, that's like the lone hope in my opinion that he can sell.
Yeah, and it's basically the inverse of last year, where one team is having, well, kind of in a sense, one team is having an abject disastrous year and is headed for like a maybe 10 wins or so, and the other team is like kind of surging. They've had some good performances. So this rivalry's seen weirder things, but I don't really see unless it just like turns into a whole slop fest like this game usually does. I don't see a path to Rutgers winning. And then in the Big Ten, I mean, I think they'll find their way into some wins. I don't think they're going to go over because that's extremely hard to do in the Big Ten, especially, if you play at home, chances are you can probably pick off just about, you have a chance at least to pick off just about anybody. That's just how the conference works. But I mean, I don't even know where to start. Like,
Seton Hall, to give you some context, they beat Kansas State at Kansas State on Saturday by almost double digits. They're 9-1 on the season. Before that, last week on Wednesday night, they beat Central Connecticut, the team that, mind you, Rutgers lost to by double digits at home. They beat them by 16. They also beat 2 out of 3 in Hawaii against Washington State and a ranked North Carolina State. They played USC really close. They lost a close game at the end. That's their only loss of the season, is a 2-point loss to USC. They're a good team. They're likely going to make the tournament if they keep this up. And it's Rutgers, Seton Hall seems to always be close, so I don't want to say it's going to be a bloodbath, but I don't see Rutgers standing a chance against the Pirates on Saturday.
They actually should have won that game. They got screwed in the end.
Yeah, they did. They should be undefeated.
But so there's two teams actually worse in high major per Ken Palm. It's DePaul, who weirdly only has like some solid losses. Like they lost to Northwestern, who's 59, LSU is 40, and Buffalo is 210. So that's like the bad loss. But They're right behind
Buffalo's
them at 130.
good.
Yeah, they're right behind them at 137. And then there's also Boston College below them, who also lost to Central Connecticut State. So
Jeez.
it's Rutgers has
Yeah.
approached Boston College basketball territory. That's where we're at.
And if you look at Bart Torvik and you take out the preseason predictions, the preseason bias, if you just started from the first day of the season, Rutgers is the lowest high major. They are 189, which is 7 spots behind DePaul.
Wow.
Oh, that's even worse.
Maryland is somehow 169, which doesn't feel quite right, but that's kind of surprising. But
They actually have Minnesota as the second highest Big Ten team at 125. So I don't know. All the rankings are weird, but
Yeah.
needless to say, Rutgers is near the bottom of high major for all of them.
And then on the women's side, since the if you take out the preseason projections, same thing on Bart Torvik, they are the 4th lowest ranked high major behind or ahead of Houston, Pitt, and once again DePaul, who is 238th. Pitt, by the way, is 218. They lost to a D3 school, Scranton, who's very good in the Division III, but
Wow.
when you play a power high major, you should not be losing to a D3 school, obviously.
No.
So it's not good. DePaul might just be a basketball disaster, but the fact that Rutgers is approaching that territory is just as bad.
Jeff Capel's days are numbered, and they're going to go hire Brandon Knight, and then Pikel finally has to make a change.
Yeah, Pitt on the men's side, they're 137.
Crazy.
If Pike loses to Seton Hall and then loses to Penn, which, I mean, I feel like one of them is almost guaranteed, how hot is his seat? This is a question on the board.
I don't think. I mean, from fans are fed up. That's clear. They're
well known.
Michael is basically starting at a level playing field right now, because last year that debacle basically eroded away any goodwill he had built up over the first 8 years of his tenure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we all kind of the season is playing out to expectations right now. None of us I think I predicted 13-9, which seems generous right now for the season, or 13-19 rather. I think you guys both predicted something similar.
Same.
So if they go 10-21, something like that, or 10-22, it's not all that different than expectations. I think given that Pikel and Schiano both are so long tenured and have meant so much to Rutgers, that I think both will be given an honest, fresh start with Zinn and with Tate. They're going to be given an opportunity to see what they can do in a modern setup in the athletic department, where they are actively providing NIL, they are actively providing support where they need it. Pikel just got a GM. There's a lot of excuses that can be made, some more reasonable than others. So I think Pikel gets a year regardless. I can't imagine that they're going to part ways unless there's some kind of Mike Rice level scandal that erupts during the season at some point, which I don't foresee.
Yeah, I mean, unless they lose out, which again I don't foresee happening, something like that, something ultra disastrous, losing out. There's only so much you can take away from a lot of these games when you just kind of look at where the administration is with where they want to set the foundation, kind of like what Mike is saying. I think they want to give both coaches a chance to fully have that infrastructure. But yeah, I mean, the fan perception is as low as it's been in the last 10 years. So
here's my issue. If you get 6 wins on the year, you know how hard it is going to be. You could sell for Greg saying okay, they were just competitive against Penn State. They almost got a bowl game. They got back-to-back 7-win seasons before that. He's on the up and up. Look at the offense. The offense is making noise this year. He's going to continue to do that, and he's going to rebuild that defense. Whereas if you get 6 wins or 7 wins this year under Pikel, I don't think it's that easy of a sell to get him that NIL that he specifically needs, because how do you sell that? How do you sell a product that's so bad?
Well, that's what I mean when I said that Seton Hall will be the thing he points to, because they went 7-25 last year, 2-18 in the Big East.
I don't think it's a secret. He's the better coach too.
Well, I think that's going to be, that's going to be what Jerry Carino is like pounding, he's going to be like, look what Shaheen did now that he's got actual support. He turned it around. He's a good coach. Steve's proven he's a good coach. He's just finally getting the support. Like, I don't know. I can't imagine that Peichel is, especially with how much money he's owed.
But they're not going to get Seton Hall money either.
We'll see.
The Big East has more money rev sharing automatically because they don't have football.
Yeah, but I can't imagine that they're doing a full 20 million there. Yeah.
But even if they do, say, 5 or 6, like that might be Rutgers budget. Rutgers budget's probably going to be like around that. And that's just rev share plus NIL.
You make a good point. Like, I think Seton Hall is still going to have more money, but I think they have to be thorough. They can't just like shoot from the hip, and Steve Peichel is going to have a leg to stand on with excuses. So you got to give him the opportunity to kind of see what he can do without those excuses.
Yeah. I'm just curious if like 6 or 7 wins, it's just like, you know what, fuck it, restart, new AD, new administration. I'm not saying I want it to happen. It's just like it looks like it potentially could happen 6 or 7 wins.
I mean, here's the other thing. Like, I'm going to use a Philadelphia Eagles example because, like, I'm an Eagles fan.
Mm-hmm.
A few years ago, well, this is probably like 2019, 2020, whenever Doug Peterson surprisingly got fired after the coaching cycle had already kind of churned, it was because Doug Peterson thought he had earned the right to pick all his coaches on staff, where he had won a Super Bowl, that, he knew what he was doing, blah, blah, blah. But at that point, it was several years past him winning the Super Bowl. This was like 2020, so like 3 years after.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was approached by Howie Roseman, approached by Jeffrey Lurie, saying, okay, we want to keep you on, but we need to make staff changes here, here, and here. And he pushed back. He said, I'm not doing that. I'm the coach. I get to decide. If Steve Peichel takes that approach this offseason, where he's unwilling to make changes after, we've seen several years now of no staff changes. We've seen several years now of the same results or worse. Like, I think he has to be willing to change his staff configurations, change some of his philosophies. If that's where I can see him. If he's unwilling to do that, that's where I can see him potentially being let go. But otherwise, if he's willing to work with Kelly Zinn, if she says you need to do X and Y and he's willing to do X and Y, I think he stays.
Okay. It's an interesting debate.
Yeah.
Just because it could get extremely ugly over the next 2 months.
I mean, there's not a whole lot of confidence that things will change, because I feel like if they could have, they would have already.
He's never fired an assistant coach. Like, never.
Yeah. Like, Rutgers, looking at the stats right now, Rutgers ranks 290th nationally in three-point rate at 34.3%, while at the same time ranking 321st in the country in two-point field goal percentage at 45.5.
Jeez.
Their three-point percentage actually isn't that bad. It's 133rd, which isn't, obviously great, but it's not as bad. But there's it's just the same issues are popping up on offense. And it was extremely obvious that, they just didn't have the horses. Purdue, I thought was, not, I don't want to say totally respectable, because that game was never competitive and Purdue just kind of cruised through the entire last 30 minutes of that game. Mm-hmm. But at least they didn't get run out of the gym. This game, it was over from the opening 5 minutes. Another thing, they rank 277th in effective field goal percentage, which properly weighs 3-pointers at 47.5%. I don't see this getting better with what they have on the roster. So,
what was the effective field goal?
Effective field goal percentage 47.5, good for 279th nationally.
It is the same chart, the CBB analytics chart. Is that what you're looking at, or?
I'm looking at Bart Torvik,
because it's just fucking brutal to look at.
Yeah,
pop it up.
And this is what we talked about. It's the same issues that keep popping up on the offensive end. They don't generate good shots, and they don't make the good shots they do generate.
Wrong tab.
Again, I feel like we've talked about this 3 times already, but you start 3 guys, and you start 3 of your 5 guys that combine to take 5 field goals, and they miss all of them.
How is this so blue?
That's not good.
Why are they doing this?
Yep.
It's every year.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Do you have a heat map of Alec, you know better than I. Who's like a very forward-thinking, analytic basketball program in college?
Alabama is the number one.
You want to pop up Alabama's shot chart, Rich?
Actually, Michigan. You know what? They
Michigan
just
or
played
Alabama,
them.
either one.
I don't
Yeah,
know if
Michigan's
I can.
probably-
Michigan's actually better because we did just play them. You're right.
I'll pull up the ESPN shot chart.
Yeah, do that because I can't switch because I got to upgrade if I want to switch. No,
Yeah, Michigan is like the primo example of what you want in analytics basketball, and they're always maximizing the best possible shot. Let me see if I can pull it. Yeah. I mean, we talked about this a lot last year when I think it was the same matchup last year. The shot chart that was, here it is.
Wow.
I count, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I count 4 shots for Michigan that are 2-pointers outside the restricted area circle. 4. And they shot 65 field goal attempts. 4 of them were 2-point field goals that were outside the restricted area.
And again, even if Rutgers right now did have that exact shot chart, it basically takes a 40-point game and makes it a 20-point game. Like, it's not like Rutgers would win this game, but if you're not giving yourself an opportunity to win by not taking those shots and not creating those shots, then you're already like taking yourself at a talent disadvantage and you're putting yourself at a scheme disadvantage as well, which is kind of what we've seen for a while now.
Yeah, like Rutgers is losing these games because they just don't have the talent to compete, but they're getting run out because they don't have the scheme advantage at all. And Michigan is probably the most maximized scheme offensively. Like Dusty May runs some of the best stuff that in the country, and he has the talent to really put it all together. And that's why that's why they've scored 100 points in 3 straight games. That's why they've beaten teams by 30 plus in I think 4 straight games. So yes, this is one of the best teams in the country, but it was never competitive from the jump.
Yeah. All right. Well,
don't even get me started on the women's game. That was...
Do you want to close that out because we went viral a little bit for a
thanks,
very
Richie.
fair question asked in the presser, where Alec, you were the one who asked it, so I'll let you kind of talk about it.
Yeah, so I'll give a little bit of color. So in the last Rutgers has played 2 games against high major teams, against Auburn and then against Iowa. Both games, they have gone on prolonged scoring droughts. The offense has struggled badly, and they just haven't been able to get anything consistent going offensively. So I asked, are you worried that this could be a sign of things to come for Big Ten play? Because the Big Ten is a very, very deep conference. There's a lot of talent in the Big Ten Conference. Could this be a sign of – are you worried this could be a sign of things to come? She said no and then moved on to the next question. So I don't think she – liked that one very much.
A very terse no.
Oh, you're underselling this one. You asked a question, and she was like, "Nope,"
and then moved on to the next question. But they scored 4 points in the third quarter. They got outscored 23-4 in the fourth quarter and the third quarter.
Jeez,
they almost doubled. They did double their points, right, in the fourth.
They were down. Yes. Yeah. They had 18 points. They had 18 points at the end of the third quarter. They scored 18 points in the fourth quarter, which I guess credit to them for finally getting something going, even though the game was out of reach. But it was 66-18 at the end of the third quarter.
That's bad.
Now, do we think, and I admittedly do not follow the women's program as closely as the men's, do we think Coquise it gets extended that same kind of grace that Pikel might get this offseason in terms of let's see what she can do with more money around her? Or do we think that she hasn't shown enough to have earned that kind of capital?
Yeah, I say no because the thing is Pikel and Shiano have at least had winning records at Rutgers. Mm-hmm. I mean, Coquise Washington's best season in terms of just total wins was either her first year or last year when they won 2 games in the WNIT, but they were 11-20 at the end of the regular season. They went 12-20 her first year. It seemed like there was going to be something to build off of in that first year, where they had 8 players and they kind of scrapped their way to actually some solid success in the Big Ten. Yes, this is year 4.
Okay,
she's cooked.
It seemed like in that first year they really scrapped their way through a lot of games. They were able to keep a lot of games competitive. They won a couple that were very surprising. It seemed like there was going to be something to build off of once they actually filled out a roster and got a little bit of momentum, but that momentum just kind of never came. It just has not come yet. They play Princeton on Wednesday. That's a Princeton team that received votes in the AP poll last week, and the AP poll actually might already be out by the time you're listening to this. But Princeton honestly might be ranked by the time that game comes around. So, and they have lost to Princeton. Let's see, Princeton. They've lost to Princeton. I don't even remember the last time Rutgers has beaten Princeton on the women's side. Let's see, they have lost 3 straight. So last time they beat Princeton was 2017-18. They didn't play for a while, and they've played each other in each of Washington's 3 years. This will be the 4th year, and they've lost each of them. 77-56 in her first year, 66-55 in her second year, and then 66-49 last year. And Princeton is just as good as they usually are. That's a really great program. Like, I know when we talk about Princeton on the men's side, it's like, they're a really good program, but like you shouldn't be losing to an Ivy League team. It's basically the same thing. Like Princeton earned an at-large berth to the NCAA tournament last year, I think.
She's cooked. Like she's got to get let go. Out of every coach on Rutgers, she's probably emerged. I don't think she was number 1. I think she's starting to take over that number 1 spot. Like it's just so bad. She's projected to win 1 more game this year. They lost to Stony Brook.
That Stony Brook game was bad. Like 17? I don't know if we talked about it on this podcast, but against Auburn, they went on a scoring drought that legitimately lasted like over 10 minutes of game action. And I think they went like 16 minutes to the field goal. So they've just never really been able to figure it out on the offensive end consistently. And even in the wins, like they are 7-2, which they've been able to win those games. And they have actually played pretty well in close games. The problem is, I would say all but 2 of those close games should not have been as close as they were because they're playing teams that they should have a talent advantage over. Like Siena was winless when they came to Jersey Mike's Arena. Let me see if they actually have a win now.
Dude, it's just such a bad squad, man. Like
they're 1-7. Okay, so they beat New Haven on Wednesday, and that was a competitive game for pretty much the entire way through. I mean, Siena was winning in the fourth quarter. Now, credit to Rutgers. They kind of took over late in that game. They went on a run. Faith Blackstone actually made a Rutgers debut in that game, and she helped spark a run that helped them take over the game. But even St. Peter's, again, that was a game in the third quarter, and then ultimately Rutgers put down the clamps on defense and was able to run away with that game. So, again, they've been able to close teams out, but the middle 2 quarters have been they've been really, really rough for Rutgers, even against the teams that they're winning these games, but it should not be as close of a margin as it is. Now, credit to them. They have beaten Rhode Island and Quinnipiac. People may scoff at those 2 games, but those are really solid mid-major teams. They did win those games, but the problem is when you're playing close against every single opponent, including the ones that you have a talent advantage over, it's not a very good sign.
Yep.
I mean, dude, like she just look at her record overall, not just Rutgers. Like look at her Penn State records, like 6-24, 16-16. Okay, decent. 12-19. Yeah. Like this isn't it. This is just brutal. You lose your star players every year too. By the way, Kiyomi left obviously for different reasons. What's her name? Kaylin Schmeichel left for obvious reasons. I'm
still trying to figure out what happened there.
Off her best players.
I'm still not sure what happened there.
I know you have to talk to her all the time, but like she's just not a good coach. It is what it is. It's not. It's not going to work. It's time to move on.
Like the 7-2 record is good, but like when you look under the hood, there's a lot of worrying things. Like I'll just go through some of the stats again. Just talking about effective field goal percentage, 291st at 41.1%. They're a very good offensive rebounding team. They rank 21st in the country in that regard. But on the defensive side, they rank 246th nationally. So they just can't get any consistency. That's been the biggest issue. They haven't been able to play consistent basketball. And it's almost bit them multiple times this year. And obviously it did when you lose by 43 to Iowa. Now, Iowa's been, last year's game notwithstanding when that was just a complete slop fest where nobody could make a shot. Iowa's been running Rutgers out of the gym, but they also had Caitlin Clark those 2 years. So I don't know what to expect in Big Ten play. Like, again, I don't see them going over because that's just the nature of the conference. Like, they'll get a few wins in conference play, I think, but I just don't know what to expect from here on out.
All right, I think we've beaten a pair of dead horses here enough. Let's move on to some football talk. I got one real quick thing.
Go for it. Just before we do it, I found the Alabama shot chart. Look at the difference.
Okay.
there's nothing.
Oh my God.
There's literally nothing here.
Jesus.
So just for context, that's probably, you said right, probably the best offense right now, Alec, ranked.
I think so. Let me check Ken Palm. See what Ken Palm
Pretty
says
close,
for
but
offensive.
just look at the lack of mid range. Like,
yeah.
and they also hit their layups.
Ken Palm has Alabama third in the country in offensive rating.
So pretty close.
Crazy.
But yeah, just for context.
Yeah.
For those that are watching on YouTube.
It's like all rim and three and no mid range. Just kind of like what we talked about.
Today's game.
Jesus. All right, let's pivot a bit. Let's talk about some football coaching candidate discussion. We released our defensive line and defensive coordinator hot boards this past weekend, and already 2 of those names are off the board. So Vince Carey's, who was a guy that I think we all were super high on, Toledo's former defensive coordinator, the former head coach of Mount Union, won multiple national titles there as head coach. He spurned not only Toledo's offer to become their new head coach, he spurned Nebraska to become their defensive coordinator, joined Fran Brown in Syracuse to be their DC, which is a puzzling choice when you have, in my opinion, maybe at least one better option. Like Nebraska, more prestigious, Syracuse kind of down in the dumps a bit in terms of how this past season went. He chooses to join Fran Brown, which, I don't know, maybe that indicates Fran Brown might be easier to work for, recruited him really well. We all know he's an ace recruiter. So Vince Carey's joins there. Huge pickup for Fran Brown in the Orange up in Syracuse. And then Rob Ulrich, who we're pretty sure is Andy Ulrich's cousin. We have to obviously get some confirmation there. But he was a guy we really liked. Broyles Award nominee this past season. Completely turned around that San Diego State defense. He is the consolation prize for Matt Rule. He becomes Matt Rule's new defensive coordinator at Nebraska. So 2 names that we really liked are now off the board. And the Rob Ulrich card, for anyone who has that in their wallet, you don't necessarily have to throw it out, but it's going to collect some dust for a bit, unfortunately, there. Rich, are you hearing any whispers or any movement in the defensive coordinator search? Because I know last year everything was super quiet. It sounded like, from everything that we were able to gather, it was basically a search of one. It was Greg Schiano did it on his own, and nothing really leaked out until after the fact.
So it sounds like there will be interviews starting this week. I don't know who, I don't know when exactly. It just sounds like they're going to start this week. That being said, they started almost immediately after they fired, who was it? Or not fired, they lost Joe Harris-Simiak to UMass. So even though they started interviews, it didn't really work out till 2 months later. So we'll just have to wait and see how it ends up playing out. It is just a shame that a guy like Vince Carey is gone off the board within seconds. It just seems like everything else is just significantly slower at Rutgers than it is around the entire college football world.
Yep.
Like Syracuse,
do you think that's because
go on.
Do you think that's because Rutgers is lower in the pecking order for some of these jobs, or do you think that's just Schiano's pace of doing these things? Because it seems like in the past, he's kind of he focuses in on one guy and he kind of bites onto him and he holds on as long as he can until it's clear it's not happening. That's what he did with Kirk, remember?
Yep.
He made how many offers to Kirk when we got him? That's what he did with Heatherman and Campanelli this past cycle. Do you think that, what do you what's your read on why that is?
I think both. I think you could be correct on both. He definitely waits too long on some guys, and he'll never admit that, obviously. But there's also situations where, they're just kind of lower in the pecking order. Is Syracuse ahead of them in the pecking order? Potentially, for the sole fact that Greg's got an MO about him that he's hard to work for. Fran is a player's coach. Maybe not. Maybe he's a coach's coach, too. We haven't seen him as a head coach in person. I mean, we can only go based on what we saw him at Rutgers, and he was everybody's pal, everybody's buddy. There's a reason several coaches left with him when he got to Syracuse. There's a bunch of guys that he brought with him from Rutgers, from Georgia, from everywhere he's been, basically. Now, it doesn't always work out, as you could tell, because hiring your friends is a very you got to have a fine line, and that's why Elijah Robinson didn't work out. And they both agreed, hey, this isn't just working out. We don't want to ruin our friendship that we've had since we were children. So Maybe it's just time like we move on. And Elijah, obviously, damn good coach, found a new spot within seconds, and now he's down at LSU. But he also had a hell of a replacement. Like it is crazy. He's able to get good coaches. Like he had Ross Douglas before Ross Douglas was Oregon's wide receivers coach. I mean, he's bringing in talent. Like, so I guess technically, yeah, Syracuse is probably ahead of them in a pecking order for defensive coordinators, for coaches in general, maybe. I think it's very close, but I do think that there's other schools. Like I think Nebraska is an easier sell than Rutgers. Who else is looking for a DC at the moment? I forget who is Minnesota fired their DC.
Don't think so.
No, Minnie Collins is still there.
Oh, not Collins. They fired someone though. Not the D-line coach. They fired someone else. But either way, I think it's a combination of things. Like Greg's hard to work for. The low end in the pecking order, like they pay enough. They pay more than enough. Look at the two co-DCs. Combine their salary, it's 1.5 mil. Right before that, it was Harris Simiak was making 1.25, and was scheduled to make 1.5 this year. So I don't know. It is a combination of things. I think, like you said, he just kind of zeroes in on one guy, and that's probably a little bit of an issue. But if you can get that guy like a Kirk Shiraka type, it ends up working out pretty well in the long run, long haul.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but I don't know. We're doing informed speculation here, but I think you gotta diversify. You gotta have more than one pole in the water for a fishing term. Then the defensive line hot board came out. One of the more interesting conundrums, because like I think we can agree that the talent necessarily hasn't been there. The scheme hasn't been a great fit for the players that they brought in on the defensive line. We haven't really seen a whole lot of development from our own recruits. Like, when's the last time you can think of like a homegrown defensive lineman who really broke out? The only one I can think of recently is Keontae Hamilton, and that breakout didn't even really come until his like fifth year in the program. So definitely want to see more production out of that room. You got any inklings where we might be leaning in that defensive line search, or is it still too early to tell?
The names that were on the hot board, I can confirm a couple of them have not heard from Shiano yet. We'll wait and see what happens. But like, there's like, this is one of my favorite hot boards like ever in terms of like talent and coaching talent. Like Andrew Jackson, Andrew Jackson from West Virginia, kind of a Kelly Zing pseudo connection. He's really talented. He's produced at a West Virginia team that stunk. So that's always impressive. Also, now he has Big Ten ties. He was actually at Penn State prior to this past year too, as a GA back in the day. But so PSU ties, Big Ten ties. Dennis Dotton Carter just got let go, like we said in the last pod. He just produced one of the best in the Big Ten in the nation in defensive lines. Anthony Smith is a stud. I mean, they're what, top 10, top 11 in sacks this year. Like, there's a lot of talented defensive line coaches out there. We'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. But I would assume he probably goes with the DC hire first. So this could be on the back burner a little bit. And then it's also interesting because we know last year when he was talking to Seth Wallace, like specifically, he told Seth Wallace he could bring in a guy that he knows or he coached with that could come in with him and kind of help implement his defense or his schemes of Greg Schiano's, he tweaks to Greg Schiano's defense. And Rob Smith did that with Sparber and Vic Hall. So now I'm curious if this new DC will also have that leeway to bring in a coach that he wants, whether it be a D-line coach, whether maybe they're not even done with changes yet. I'd be shocked if they were, to be honest. Maybe they bring in a different linebackers coach because the coaching number is unlimited now. It's not like it used to be like 10 and that's it. Those 10 guys can go on the road. No one else can go. So you could just keep adding coach after coach after coach after coach. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where you don't hear anything until Thamel, drops we hired somebody. And then sometimes we do hear stuff and we don't want, we're asked not to put it out there yet. And we have to kind of be very careful about, because these are people's livelihoods. And, if it gets out there, like you're looking at another job, like it could put you in a bad position with the current staff you're on. And you don't want to ever ruin somebody's or hamper somebody's career rather. So you have to, it's a delicate dance. And we try and give you guys as much as we possibly can with this information.
I mean, needless to say, and I've spoken with a source within the program, like that was not supposed to leak out at 11:30 at night. Like I think everyone can agree and understand there. That's like, that wasn't supposed to happen, but oh well, happens sometimes.
The other football-related news item is that I think it's still ongoing. The Birmingham Bowl is looking for a team to replace, I forget who. But
no, they ended up finding someone.
They did. So, okay. So I don't know who it is. So tell us after I set the stage here. So the Birmingham Bowl, which was the Papa John's Bowl at one point that Rutgers played NC State in, many years ago, like 2008. They had a team opt out, and then they went through the APR list, and they must have had 7 or 8 teams turn it down, including Temple, who hasn't been to a bowl in 7 or 8 years. Rutgers also turned that bowl down, 8 years. So Rutgers turns down the Birmingham Bowl invite. Rich, why did Rutgers turn down the bowl invite, given that, Schiano has effusively praised how important it is, those bowl prep weeks, those practices for young guys, especially being a developmental program? I mean, I'm speaking from, the devil's advocate side here, because I agree with them turning it down. But why did Rutgers turn it down?
Couple reasons. For starters, I mean, it was pretty obvious. No one wants to be in this bowl game. It's not a good opponent. It's not a great bowl. It's a lot of travel that you have to kind of expedite now. Now, obviously, the travel thing's like the least of the worries. It's not really a big deal. It's almost a little bit embarrassing, too, to take a bowl game when you're 5-7. Now, back when they did it for the Gator Bowl, it's like, oh, shit, it's the Gator Bowl. Like, how do you not do the Gator Bowl?
Also, that was a group of kids who had never played in a bowl game.
True.
It was still like something that Schiano really could sell on the recruiting trail. Like, we got us back to a bowl, blah, blah, blah. So I think that situation is light years different than this situation.
One of the more prestigious bowls, too, on top of it all. So, I mean, so there's a reason everyone's saying no. It's kind of like embarrassing, like I said. On top of that, several players have already entered the transfer portal, announced their intentions to enter the transfer portal. Between your starting defensive end, your backup running back who didn't play all year, blah, blah, blah. And the list goes on and on. I think there's 3 or 4, I forget. On top of that, several players have already received their off-season surgeries, whether it was like necessity or not. Like some of them just get like minor cleanups, and they just need to sit out for a month just because it's like something I'm not speculating because I don't know anyone's surgeries, but it might have just been like a knee cleanup, and you just had to go in there, clean some stuff up, and then he's good to go. Whereas if they were in a bowl game, that guy probably would have just said, screw it, I'm okay right now. I'm going to play in that bowl game.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of like key contributors there that it's like, oh shit, like we're not even going to have those guys. On top of the fact that you're probably going to miss guys because they're going to leave for the NFL, whoever that might be, whether it be Ian Strong, just throwing a name out there, just completely guessing. Ethan, like would Ethan even play? I don't know. Trying to think if there's any other NFL guys. Not really, right?
I mean, at least there would be a debate about some of the seniors that are out of eligibility but will probably go to the NFL.
Yeah. So would they even want to play? On top of the fact you're also now missing 3 defensive coaches. That's half your defensive coaching staff. Portal's coming up very quickly. Roster retention is like your main focus over the next 3 weeks before that portal opens. And you also have to somehow, in between all that, interview guys and figure out the right hires specifically, because you cannot afford to miss on this one, for your defensive staff, because you miss again, you're starting to get on a little bit of a warm hot seat. So there's a lot that I kind of just said, but put it all together and it's like, yeah, no, fuck that. We're not going.
Yeah, I think the crux of it came down to the timing, given that the season's basically been over for a week now. And I'm sure they talked about the possibility, but they didn't expect to actually get an invite because of their, like you mentioned, they were kind of far down the list. And it's pretty clear how much, the whole losing Harris Semiak on signing day and having to go through bowl prep and then having to worry about getting the defense coordinator afterwards, worrying about the portal. It's clear that entire process weighed on Schiano a bunch, and you're in a very similar circumstance as you were last year. And I think at a certain point they just said, you know what, as much value as those extra practices have, and obviously Schiano's not shy in talking about that, as much value as that holds, it's better for the health of the program just to fully break off the end of this season, just move on to next year. Because again, you're in the same situation as you were last year where you need a defensive coordinator. Schiano's likely doing all the defensive coaching in the bowl game again, which is taking away from portal/retention, and then also taking away from actually getting a new guy for the defensive coordinator spot. So yeah, Yeah, I'm sure fans would have liked to see Rutgers go out on a little bit of a better note, and they probably would have beaten Georgia Southern. I mean, you never know, whatever.
Which
But
you would hope.
yeah, well, exactly. It's just better for the general health of next season just to fully get ready. And like I said, it very obviously put a lot on Shiano's plate, and it seemed like it just seemed like too much last year. So just move on into next year, get ready for next year, and yeah, that's probably the best course of action.
You mentioned it, but like if they lost that game, it makes it look even worse.
I know it really is like a no-win proposition because you, like you said, then you like are doing half measures in the portal, half measures finding new coaches.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're likely going to have to play with like half of what you would normally for your roster. Like, I mean, as great as it would be to kind of have Ethan have that final send off, like it'd be so much better to have. It almost would be like a season start preview for AJ Serace for next year if he was able to start. Say Ethan opted out, giving him that like 3-week period to just like be the starter ahead of the spring, ahead of next season would be like, oh, I'm not having to do a season opener because I already kind of went through that with the bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
But
could have broke the record too.
Yeah, he was less than 300 yards away from the single season passing record, which I think he probably would have hit easily against a team like Georgia State. It is what it is, though. It's just not happening. So it's not even worth a ton of speculation, but we had to address it because it was a newsworthy item. So in terms of the portal, now that we have it brought up, it seems like it's pretty slow around the country. I've spoken to a bunch of kids who, Rutgers has started following. I've spoken to a bunch of the top guys who have already announced that they're going to be entering the portal. It doesn't seem like a ton of coaches have really reached out yet. And I think that's in large part because they're not allowed to. So it's a lot of back channeling right now, but there's not a whole lot of visits. There's only, from what I can gather, about 25, 26 kids who have already announced a commitment. And they're mostly D2 and D3 kids who are announcing they're moving up to another level. How do you see the portal timeline playing out this season, Rich?
January 2nd is going to be hell. I mean, it's going to be crazy how many people are going to be entering that day, whether they already announced or they didn't announce. Sure, we'll have a bunch of articles and stuff. Rutgers obviously isn't done either. Like with losing guys, like there's going to be more portal entries. It's still end of the season talks with Shiano. You talk to him and you're like, okay, where do I kind of sit in this packing order? Because I don't have spring ball to tell me that now. So now I kind of have to make a decision whether I'm coming back or not. So it's inevitable. There's going to be more people in the portal. In terms of when they reach out, I think January 2nd, you're going to see guys on visits almost immediately because that portal's open and you're not allowed to talk to them until January 2nd. Does anyone listen to that rule? Yeah, sort of. They do listen to it, but there's just so many ways to back channel. You can reach out to his high school coach. You can reach out to his agent. There's nothing wrong with you saying, hey, Mr. Agent, would your guy be interested in visiting us? Oh, yeah, January 2nd. You got to wait till the portal opens, and then we'll talk. No, that's not how that works. Like, they're talking to agents. Like, they're talking to agents all around the country. And there's no repercussions for doing that. Like, it's tampering, essentially, and there's no rules. So I think January 2nd is, like, the potential first day you'll actually see someone on campus. For Rutgers, you would hope they have someone on campus that day at least. But there's nothing scheduled as of right this moment, just so everyone knows. Also, it's probably not going to leak out till January 2nd. So
sure.
If they do. But yeah, so January 2nd is the day.
All right, so that is all you've got for you guys today. Alec, actually, who did end up accepting that bowl invite? We forgot to
5-7 Appalachian State. So they'll be I think that's a conference game actually in the Birmingham Bowl.
Oh boy.
That's
because they played already back in November.
All right, well, congrats to the App State Mountaineers on the bowl invitation. Hopefully it's a good game, but it won't be involving the Scarlet Knights. But I want to thank everybody for all the new reviews through the contest we're running. For those of you who have not listened in a while, we are running a giveaway contest. We're going to be giving away 4 prizes, and there's 3 ways you can enter. The prizes are LeGrand Coffee Company gift card, a Geo Baker signed card, a jersey of your choice, whether it be a Rutgers, it has to be a Rutgers player in the NFL, college, NBA, and also Year of the Night report. If you want to be involved in this giveaway, you have to send us screenshots of us being in your Spotify Wrapped or your year-end review of one of YouTube, Apple, or Spotify. And if you send us proof that you've given us a 5-star review on Spotify, that gets you another entry. If you send us proof that you've given us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, that gets you a 3rd entry. So up to 3 entries. You can send it to us by a post on Twitter. You can send it to us by a story on Instagram, or you can just email us at tkronrivals@gmail.com. So any of those 3 methods will get you entries into the contest, and we'll be doing the drawing at the end of the month. I want to thank everybody once again for helping us grow the show as much as it has this year and being such loyal, great fans. But that's all we've got for you guys today. For me, Richie, and Alec, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.